So it's a case of once this is tacked in place, then putting the plastic under trays back on, lining up where and marking the holes need to be, then drilling the holes. So test fitting the new panels, you can see the lower cuts looking nice. Obviously we can close that up, decide how we're going to do that and move it along to finish those edges up there. The tricky bit is this front leading edge. The pressing shapes aren't the most original, but then we know that because it's not a copy, it's a copy wing sill section. And then the top bit as well needs to be manipulated to come into a good lineup, but obviously you need to cut a hole as well for the jacking point section so the plastic block can sit in there, but that's what the inside looks like. We know it's nice and clean and decorroded. So the panels are coming together nicely, trimming section by section until we've got a happy fit, and then we'll be moving on to the welding process. This repair piece is being welded on now. The welds are just being linished back. Now it's quite a tricky thing to do because you've got little intricate folds and curves where you've got to get tooling in there, which a traditional, say, angle grinder with flat disc won't get. So you need to use belt sanding devices and things to just steadily grind through this weld line to make it as thin as possible. And obviously anything that's been welded is going to have paint, and to have paint, normally at a body shop you would be accepting of it's going to have some form of filler just to go over any weld lines and things like that. So we're just working our way through. It's not necessarily the finished effect yet, we're just getting through toward the end. That's an idea where it is welded underneath at the moment. So plug welded into the intermediate sill through the middle and then the inner sill down there. A few plugs have just been done there. We'll tidy the overlap and trims up things, and then once the lifting arm is out of the way, we'll go through these weld lines and then weld it also around the center, which then creates a nice connection point and also seals it up from any moisture, which is obviously going to also be done with paints and sealers and cavity waxes and things like that. Fit wise is not too bad. Gives you an idea of the inside edge. That's where plug welds have come through. So the steps are there. There's a little bit of a sort of a continuous shape there where the new panels meet the original factory finish. Dave, who's welding, has mentioned that they are very soft. The thickness of the metal's okay, but it cuts very easy almost with tin snips, which is a little bit unusual. We're not sure of the actual steel that these are made out of. They come from, I'm not sure what country it is. It's somewhere in Eastern Europe, I think, and they are probably of some sort of alloy combination where maybe it isn't the sort of steel that we'd necessarily be used to on a BMW. So they are quite soft, and it does almost try to melt when you are welding it, even though it's the same thickness, the pattern panel to the BMW steel. It's the same thickness, but it almost tries to melt rather than actually allow weld to penetrate it. So it's a little bit of a complicated process when you're using different metals, it seems, but certainly happy to try it, like I say, because it's a staff car, and we want to know if it is possible to save further E39s rather than having to buy the £495 front sections from BMW each side, or the 1,997 full seals for each side from BMW. So things are looking a lot nicer now. It's got the weld lines linished and also some primer. So it's a graphene primer, which obviously stops it oxidizing in the atmosphere and keeps it stable, but it also forms the first layer of protection on that bare steel. And if you stand back from a distance, things are looking quite nice and original in their shapes. You can still just about see the weld lines along there. But like I say, underneath that other OEM textured line, that will be a textured paint under there. So we might even be able to lose that line. And up in this area, when it's any sort of body coloured facing paint work that's required at a body shop, it would be natural to have to apply some sort of filler if there's been new metal instated. But it's looking okay. Takes a little bit longer with using these seals because, as I explained earlier, they don't have the fixing holes. So it's a case of once this is tacked in place, then putting the plastic under trays back on, lining up where and marking the holes need to be, then drilling the holes. That doesn't sound much because there's only 3 holes. But then the hardest bit is making the opening in the correct area for the jacking point. But it's looking all right. We're pleased with that. Obviously the inside areas need to be sealed up, so they'll be all seam sealed in this area and cleaned out to make sure there's no gaps and things like that in here. We'll come back to this area and show that it all gets seamed up nicely and work out about what we're going to do with the edges on here. And then right hand side has been done as well. So that one was a little bit longer in its join line. I think it was back down here, wasn't it? Remember, this is the area that was all sort of rotten because of all the mud peeled up around here. Jacking point areas cut out. We've got the holes instated. So metalwork wise, we're pretty much there. Now we're going into sort of the tidying up and preparation stages for the seam seal work. So the underside's been painted with a sprayable seam sealer and then a top coat colouring, which is what we would class as E-coat, which is just a light olive sort of green tinge grey with it, which is sort of like a factory electrophoretic finish, and that gives a nice textured finish. Let's look at it from the other side as well, on the right hand side. And it wasn't just locally on this Sill underside section, and Luke and Dave carried that on down the Sill section just to protect the rest of it, and did a join in sort of line just here, which is like the factory textured finished area, because remember this face up here is what is body coloured paint. So now Luke's going to have to go to a body shop to get this finished. Now we don't do body work in terms of sort of finished paint, but so just for the time being and temporary measure, it's just got some black hammerite on there at the moment just to stop things corroding, I suppose, until sort of a booking time comes available. But the underside is, like I say, a nice textured finish. It's a two-part fully cured system, so nice and dry, and with the holes now drilled and the jacking point area ready to go in. And when this outer part gets painted in topaz blue, which is the same as the body, then it will be, I suppose they'll rub down through over this or something. They'll do their own preparation at a body shop company, and then there'll be just probably a gentle fade in of blue paint, which will pick up on some of these sort of highlight areas around the stamp pressings of the underside of the seal. But that shows the sort of first stage protection, and then I suppose once it comes back from a body shop, we'll probably do an update video if possible, depending on when that gets done, to show the finished effect. But it gives you an idea of what can be achieved with aftermarket panels. So there's many ways to go about this, either second-hand donor cut panels out of an E39 that's been dismantled, but nowadays that's quite hard to find without finding some corrosion already there, or going for aftermarket panels like in this case, although it took a little bit longer, I suppose, but it's come out well, or going for a genuine BMW process. But whatever process you look at, you are really needing to be mindful that you're going to have to visit a body shop after to have some form of basic fill-in work and also then body coloured paint as well. So Luke's dusted a little bit of paint on there, body colour paint, just to help tidy it up whilst waiting for a body shop appointment. But just to make sure the car is safe to drive, we're just going to do some internal waxing. So we've got the cavity wax injection wand in there, 500mm wand, so where we inserted there was well past the jacking point. And as we are retracting, continually retracting, we're then obviously sending this cavity wax, injecting it into the shell, body shell, the seal sections, and you can see it's dripping out various orifices and also in that part of the jacking point, just to make sure the internals are nice and protected. And this is just one little example. We'll do many sections of this, probably a good 10 minutes worth of cavity waxing through various holes and various angles. So at the moment we're aiming that way, then we'll stand around that side and aim that way, and then we'll be doing the right hand side of the car, and then we'll get everything fitted up. Once it's stopped dripping and starts solidifying inside, we'll get all the under trays fitted up and then do a final video just to show what it looks like. So the car's all fitted up now. It's got its wheel arch liners on, wheels back on. You can see what it looks like from a distance with a little bit of body colour paint, which is topaz blue, just blended in just to make it look a bit respectable. And whilst we're waiting for a body shop appointment, which at the moment it's like 7 weeks for our one, at least it's going to be able to be driven. So although it isn't absolutely perfect exterior paint, we're not claiming it is. We can't do that. We're not a body shop. We always just body colour things, and I think that's a respectable finish. Obviously there's another clipping point that needs to be fitted. We need to put a couple of clips in. I'm not going to go mad with that at the moment because it's all going to have to be come off for the body shop to get in there and do that. But what we have done is carried out the cavity waxing internally, so we know that the car is nicely protected inside and also externally with the sprayable seam sealer underneath, and it's just going to be able to be driven now. Then get the body shop to come and do the wing and the seal sections on both sides, and then that will be this E39 nicely repaired with new structural metal, not having to worry about the jacking points crumbling, creasing, or getting any MOT advisories in the future. So what have we learned from this? Well, it is a complex procedure which does need fabrication skills, and although we haven't ever tried the BMW panels, we can't say how better they might fit. It's likely that they would fit a little bit better, and they certainly would have all the holes and the cutouts underneath, but for the price saving using these non-genuine ones, I think it's a worthwhile consideration. There might be a little bit more labour time involved in fitting these, and possibly a little bit more body shop finesse work when it comes to filler and paint at the end of the process. But as we've showed in this video, it can be done, and that is a thing to be considering nowadays on E39s, as the panel availability from BMW is clearly quite an expensive process.